Let's talk about the reactions to the NFL Championship Sunday matchups. So somebody tweeted me, I think it's Matty Hertz, about halfway through, towards like the end of the third quarter of the Patriots game, saying, could you guys talk about how bad the playoffs have been? Which was precisely what I was thinking before we even got to the Patriots versus Steelers game, because as much as high-scoring offense is fun, it was a blowout, like almost every single game this playoffs have been. And save for the Packers and the Cowboys divisional round matchup, it was the only rememberable game. I actually think after the Super Bowl is said and done, and the Patriots take home like their 13th Lombardi Trophy in 8 years, and Tom Brady wins his 16th MVP in 3 years, and we all get that wonderful moment of Roger Goodell handing it to him, and I'll explain why the Patriots will beat the Falcons right now, 5 minutes after the Patriots just beat the Steelers, for a couple of pretty sound reasons. But we're going to look back on this playoffs and we're going to go, wow, the Super Bowl was the Packers and the Cowboys. It was the best game by far. It wasn't even close. It was the most exciting. It was an exciting comeback. We got to discuss how Mike McCarthy and Dom Capers should have been fired last week, and now we look at this week and the Packers head into the Dome and they play Atlanta, and my God, Dom Capers should have been fired at halftime. But now he's known as the guy who has given up so many yards to so many different players in NFL divisional round playoff games or NFC championship games. This is the same guy who gave up like 350 rushing yards over 2 games in back-to-back years against Colin Kaepernick, who then a couple of years later couldn't even find a way to win 6 games with the San Francisco 49ers. And then this year, I sent out a message earlier. I'm watching with a couple of friends, and Joe Buck goes, quote, "And Julio Jones catches it wide open over the middle," end quote. And my friend looks at me, he's not even watching the game. He's in the kitchen, and he looks over and he goes, "Why is that a thing? How is it even possible that you leave Julio Jones wide open without coverage?" Now, there's busted coverage, but that usually happens downfield, right? This was just over the middle, and there wasn't a Packers secondary unit or middle or linebacker within 5 yards of him on multiple occasions, and Julio Jones ate dinner. He ate lunch. He ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner against the Packers, and deservingly so. So we've been quiet about the Falcons all season long. We gave them their due after they won their matchup last weekend, and now after they just throttled the Packers and pretty much silenced Aaron Rodgers for the most part. And I'm not even going to blame Aaron Rodgers for this one. His receivers dropped so many passes. The flags that were called, it was a tough way for Rodgers' like crazy historic run to come to an end after 8-9 games in a row. But the Falcons were the better team from start to finish, all 60 minutes of that game, and deserved. I mean, this is a team that continuously puts up more than 35, 36 points per game. So if you want to beat them, you have to score 37, 38. All right, before we get into all the hot takes about why the Patriots, I'm happy because the Patriots made me money. I'd be in a totally different mood if the Steelers lost that game by like 3, but the Patriots covered the spread. First, I want to show you my favorite thing from Championship Sunday, and it was everything to do with Tom Brady's coat. And the internet had a field day with this. Tom Brady's on the sideline. They have like those super puffy, warm, insulated coats to keep you warm when it's rainy and cold and windy. I mean, it was raining sideways in Foxborough when that game started. Actually, when they first showed the first angle of the game, I was like, is this what we're going to be dealing with? Just like low fog hanging on the stadium. We can't see anything that's going on. It eventually cleared away. But it was raining sideways, and the internet has a field day with Tom Brady's coat, and here's like a couple of the pictures, because I really couldn't get enough of them. In addition to that, Chris Hogan, who posted pretty much the exact same stat line as Julio Jones, which really, and he's an undrafted player. It's like the most yards and most receptions by an undrafted player in NFL playoffs history. And Chris Hogan's Wikipedia page now says, I think, the Steelers' daddy. And Chris Hogan, I mean, look, man, I don't know how to put it anymore at this point. Tom Brady is 39 years old. He threw for over 350 yards and, 3 or 4 touchdowns in that game. And we still question if he's the greatest of all time. We still say, like, oh, he needs the 5th Super Bowl win to be the greatest of all time. Here's just a couple of, off the top of my head, actual facts. The Patriots are now 95-1 at home if they lead at halftime. Okay, that's not made up. That's a real stat. And that includes the playoffs. Tom Brady has more playoff wins than 27 NFL franchises. I'm not done. Tom Brady, let's see. No, there was another one that was really, really important. He has more touchdown passes in the playoffs than guys like Byron Leftwich had in their entire NFL career. So all the numbers are there, yet some people like to argue that Peyton Manning was better, even though there's no sound argument for it aside from the numbers game, yet Brady's playoff numbers are pure insanity. And then he backs it up by, it's not like the Steelers are a bad football team. But the Patriots' defense is the best defense remaining in the playoffs. They're the best defense remaining in the playoffs going into Championship Sunday, and they have a better defense than that of the Falcons. They have a better secondary. They have a better defense. They're more equipped to beat a high-power offense than I would say the Falcons are. Because just keep in mind that Aaron Rodgers was great, excellent, MVP, in still my opinion, of the 2016-2017 season. But they don't have the systematic machine offense that the Patriots run, and that grinds on you, and it's simply a ton to ask for to, I think, expect the Falcons to score again 36 points in the Super Bowl, where all of these guys are inexperienced compared to the guys on the Patriots who have been there pretty much feels like every year for the last 15, even though it's not. I mean, that was their 6th straight AFC Championship game. Brady's now 7-4 in the AFC Championship game, so that's 11 times he's been there in his career, but we still question if he's the greatest. And now he's going to the Super Bowl for the 7th time in his career, yet we still question if he's the greatest. And even if he loses it, he'll be 4-3, so he'll still have a winning record, and he'll possibly get back there again before he retires, where even if he were to lose that one after again getting back there, he'd still be 500 in the Super Bowl. John Elway was what, 2-4? 2-3? I should be able to have that off the top of my head. Regardless, I don't have it. So it's a Tom Brady love fest, sure. And I'm not a Patriots fan. Yet I just get so annoyed that people discredit the guy somehow for everything he's done. Julio Jones did steal the show. He made some ridiculous catches, not to tangent back towards the Falcons and the Packers game. But the last point I wanted to make in terms of like the Falcons scoring so many points is that the Patriots are capable of scoring exactly the same amount of points as the Falcons are, and they have the experience and they have the head coaching to out-coach the Falcons in this game. I think Vic Beasley's a beast, and he's the one guy I'd keep my eye on for the Falcons. If he has a Von Miller-esque Super Bowl performance, we're in for a good game. However, my feeling is that the Patriots run away with it somewhere in the second or third quarter, and it's not even a game, and it becomes one of those, the clock, watch the clock, maybe the Falcons make it something close or within one score towards the end of the game in itself. But what would fit the narrative for this year would be that the playoffs have been complete and utter garbage, a dumpster fire, absolutely terrible football from top to bottom. There's been nothing exciting about this year's playoffs save for one football game, and that's my biggest takeaway. So regardless of what happens in the Super Bowl, unless it's an instant classic like that of the Packers and the Cowboys, that's the game that everyone's going to remember. Hence, that's the game that 48.5 million people watched. You're talking about half the total amount of Super Bowl viewers watched the divisional round playoff game, and now that both those two teams are out, we'll still get the 120 million people to watch the Super Bowl, but that includes like 60 million people like I consider like my own mother who don't watch football all too often, but of course will tune in because there's a Super Bowl party and there's commercials and there's maybe a good football game. And Lady Gaga is going to tear the roof off the place at NRG Stadium. And I'm very excited for that. I think Lady Gaga is going to have the best performance of the NFL playoffs, believe it or not. I think that's all I got. There was a few other memes and tweets, though, that were really funny and right on the nose, or it hits the nail on the head, whatever the phrase would be. But I don't know. I'm still angry at the playoffs being boring. Like, for example, Marquise Christ had a dunk in the Phoenix Suns game that was more exciting than anything that happened today on the football field. I guess I'm also angry at the Steelers' offense. I still don't understand how in back-to-back games, like that offense with Bell got injured. That's a huge thing. But D'Angelo Williams is running better than Bell. I know in the very small sample size that Bell had in that game, D'Angelo Williams is running more effectively in his first 6 to 7 touches. Because maybe the patience thing wasn't going to work for the Patriots. Maybe they were game planning specifically for Le'Veon Bell. And please, never discredit how much of an edge the Patriots always have on special teams against every team in the league. They take the little things seriously. It's what makes them so good. So I have the Patriots. I think the opening line is -3. I'd take the Patriots -9. I'm going to be eating my own words probably in 2 weeks if, the Falcons win the Super Bowl. And if they do, oh man, all the credit deserved to Atlanta. That team would pull off. I think they're underdogs in this situation, and it's inexperienced. But I think Matt Ryan's phenomenal. I think Matt Ryan's going to win the MVP based on how the writers are going to vote. I think that Julio Jones is the best wide receiver in the league. However, I've gotten into arguments on Twitter on why, look at who's throwing to him compared to look who's throwing to other receivers in the league. If you put DeAndre Hopkins on that team, I think he put up the same numbers as Julio Jones, for example. And now I'm ranting. I think I've gone now for who God knows how long, only 10 minutes. But we'll be back in the studio tomorrow, where I will double down on my Patriots winning the Super Bowl in a blowout. I've just seen it too many times. The argument's valid. We've all seen it, and some people are going to be bored by it. And I'm going to go right back to the cashier at the local sports book in probably Vegas, and it's the closest one that's legal here, and hopefully cash out enough to pay off my student loan debt. That's it. We'll see you next time. We'll see you Monday.